Mr. James Scarlett, Q&A number 4. We go again.
Yes, we do, mate. Are you good?
I am good. I'm back to full fitness. We've had a chat with the bold Frank. It was a lot of fun. So, I'm great. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I'm still not quite back to full fitness from various things we've been up to recently, but yeah, excited that festival season is in full swing now.
Yeah, you are
For
now.
me.
It's all happening. It's all happening for you now. Okay, so to set the timeline for fans, this is Q&A 4 coming out immediately after the Frank Turner episode. I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't listened to that one yet, go back and enjoy it. It's a good one. We thought we were going to have him for a bit longer than we did, but we will appreciate the fact that he sorted out some time for us in the middle of an American tour and right before his sound check that day in Florida. So we got 30 minutes. It meant we couldn't get into, we never had it on the record for us. Could even shout out poor Lou's Brews. So, mate, we love you. Your sausages are great. Let's get that started right. If you never heard in the last episode, you wonder where Lou's Brews is, rectify that by going to his website, lousbrews.co.uk, pod 15. Get yourself one called Almost Famous that he sent me, which is absolutely beautiful. Not that spicy. It's got a tanginess to it. It's more about flavour than it's spice. So if you listen to these, you're like, you know what, I would support Lou's Brews, but I do not like my mouth burning. That one is that nice middle ground. It's still got a kick to it, but not. It's not anal vomit. Put it that way. Have you tried your anal vomit yet?
No, I haven't. I'm close to opening it. I haven't opened any of those the lively ones he sent over because I haven't finished that crazy creeper one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the ones that is part of that as well. Now there might have been a few people coming on this one. We'd said previously that Q&A 4 was going to be our hot sauces. Now the reason that that's not the case, and the reason that I'm just explaining what's happening in the next couple of months is it's starting to get to hectic, busy season. We are fitting these in where we can in our week, and over July and August that's going to be problematic and challenging. James is going to be in a field for at least a month of those 2 months. I'm in Mexico for 2 months, 2 weeks, right slap bang in the middle of it. So over the 8 week period, there's 6 weeks of them that are not going to be opportune podcast recording moments. So we will make the Q&A 5 or whatever the one that's going to be coming out by the time we get into September. We'll do the hot sauce one. So that is in the pipeline. What else we're going to do to try and make this a wee bit easier, but make sure there is still a pod coming out every Thursday, is the one that will land on the Thursday of Trees and the Thursday of Art Tangent will be a Q&A episode instead of getting it as your bonus content at the end of the month of Thursday, simply to make things or the schedule of recording is a wee bit easier over the next 8 weeks. Make
Turns
sense,
out,
James?
yeah. It turns out when Gav asked me 4 months ago, do you want to do a weekly podcast? And I was like, all relaxed and chill. So I was like, yeah, easy. So we're that wasn't Gav saying we're not going to do a weekly podcast. We're going to get you a weekly podcast. It's just it might be slightly different style over the summer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because we like to keep them fresh as well. I mean, you could say, "Oh, why don't you just go and do have a bank of them all set up?" Like, but also that's not. I don't particularly enjoy that. I like to talk about what's happening at least in the last several weeks. We don't want ones that are coming out in the end of August that recorded in the start of June. You know what I mean? So it's it'll work. Podcasts are coming. This is going to be the most challenging couple of months. After that, and it's September, October, even over Damnation, I am not in a field for 2 weeks doing a build and then breaking it back down. So this is going to be, if we can get through these 8 weeks, we'll be laughing. That said, here's Q&A 4. James, hit us up.
Let's do it. So Perrin Hayish, who is parent of That's Not Metal fame, I believe. Hi, Perrin. He asks, AFI at 2000 Trees was the single biggest casualty of the whole COVID write-off festival season. What's the story behind that being booked and then not being booked again? AFI play in the UK is now such a once-in-a-decade occurrence, apparently that it looks like if Trees don't rebook that, no one will. Why are they so difficult to get over here, and what are the chances of getting them again for real?
Great question. Great question.
Yeah. So I guess, I the history of that is I was super excited to book AFI And it, like he says, it was during a COVID booking. It was one of the years that got cancelled for COVID, and then they didn't. Unlike Jimmy Eat World, unlike Thrice, AFI did not want to come back and do that post-COVID festival. Now, I didn't ever get a reason for that. It was just that they're not going to be touring. They've decided to not tour. And then every year I have a little chat with their manager and say, sorry, with their booking agent, and I'm like, any chance of AFI this year? And there's never been much interest from their end. It's always like yeah, it'll happen one time. So I don't tend to chase around after bands if it doesn't feel like it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't have any great backstory on why AFI come to the UK. They don't come that often, but we would love to have them at 2000 Trees. There would be a great 2000 Trees headliner, I think, and it will happen one day. But yeah, it's not going to be this year.
I mean, I'm not following, haven't followed the career of AFI. Are they playing other shows? I mean, are they stateside at the moment, absolutely loving it up, or be huge tours, or is it just the fact that they're not really an active band at the moment?
Well, they are an active band, but I'm not sure how active. I think they're only active to a certain degree, so they're not doing massive world tours, I think. Yeah, so I don't know is the answer to that question. But there's no beef, and I would definitely love to have them.
And are they, because those are one of those weird headliners now that you actually already have the data on, like you did announce them, you did see ticket sales, you did see the response. Were they as hugely popular as Perrin's suggesting?
I think in the context of the least popular headliner we've ever had and the most popular headliner we've ever had, they're somewhere in the middle of that. That it's, bands like Enter Shikari are just great headliners for 2000 Trees, and that seems to be what our audience want. AFI are somewhere in the middle. They're in the drive-in realm, the Thrice realm, where a portion of our audience want them, and a portion of the audience is like, who the fuck are Thrice? Who are AFI? They don't,
Yeah.
It depends how old you are, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Ray Arrow asks, is there anything you thought was beyond reach or that you'd never be able to deliver, achieve at your respective festivals nowadays that you did achieve and is now business as usual? You want to start with that one, James? Selling tickets, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but look, booking the likes of At the Drive-In and Opeth, I think we've probably covered before, but that is the ultimate unachievable. There is no way, if you talked to me in 2006, that I thought it was possible for me to be booking these hero bands of mine. So that totally feels like business as usual now. Like, if At the Drive-In reformed tomorrow, I'd be like, I'd be sending them a message. Like, I feel like I can like ask Oceansize to reform, or I can ask Million Dead to reform. I can ask Ruben to reform. Like, I can try and book Mastodon, and all of this that just seems normal. I mean, it's exciting, but it's just business as usual. Whereas that would have blown my mind. And to be honest, if I look at 2000 Trees, what I'm about to go and set up, it's like 6 stages, 150 bands, 15,000 people, a guest list of a couple of thousand. That all seems unbelievably unachievable from a festival that had 1,000 people in 2007. My mind is blown. I can't even think about it. What about you, Gav?
Probably similar. I'm a stranger. I don't see people have got 5-year plans, don't they? People have 10 years plan, people have goals and ambitions. I'm a more a day-to-day kind of guy, and nothing gets me down that much and nothing impresses me that much. And so I remember 2008 when we had Carcass played and sold the best part of 4,000 tickets back then, and being in the balcony and looking and going, Jesus Christ, I mean, look at this. How the hell has this become an event that can attract the return of Carcass to the UK and have all these fans having the fucking absolute, I mean, if you told me then, oh, by the way, in 10 years' time, Damnation will be a 3-day outdoor festival, 20,000 people, I wouldn't have fallen over. I wouldn't have been like, oh my God, like, how could that possibly happen? But at the same time, if you told me would be exactly where we are now. I wouldn't have been that surprised. I don't look at it. I don't. It's just not the way I process damnation or my career in any shape. Even in journalism, never went, oh my God, if I got to be a daily newspaper editor at 36, I would just be completely blown away. When it happened, I was like, right, okay, I'm impressed with it, but ultimately it came and I understand the process. So aye, I'm well chuffed. I mean, that we are thinking of, as you said, when you had the answer, I said, aye, am I well chuffed? And I think about it, we can book Jane Doe, or we can go to Converge in fucking 3 weeks' notice and even ask for them to do Jane Doe, that will that the event's viewed in that sort of sphere, like up there with your road burns and the events where a band will do something special for you, then that is it's hugely appreciated. I suppose now, I mean, a few years back, maybe I wouldn't have viewed Damnation as being a kind of event that could ask that question. Whereas now I see it as business as usual for us to go and ask pretty legendary bands, would they go and rehearse a one-off album just to play at Damnation? So there's that. And then in a more tangible way you can see, I mean, I'll never stop being impressed by how the Damnation main stage looks. I mean, given everything, we are still an indoor event with a 6,000 capacity, and I feel that the main stage stands up to most major outdoors before you get to the levels of download. I mean, you look at the main stage of Damnation to the main stage, I don't know, fucking Bloodstock or your Art Tangent or Tree. It's an impressive main stage. It's full production. It's got the branding across it. It's got the video wall. I like. There's something that obviously in the early days when you're in Manchester and Leeds, I mean, all those years that we could even afforded or wanted to put a main stage like that into Leeds, we never had the opportunity. So that was definitely years like, I wish this was business as usual, but it's the exact opposite. And we finally have got the opportunity to do that. And I want building it. We want to build it. I want to put our own wee special touch in. We're still pretty new to the arena setting and still learning and finding our feet. I mean, even yesterday I was thinking about what about like artificial grass for like outside, inside the tents. Actually, how much does it cost? You can hire grass, can't you? You can make that car park feel less like a fucking car park and more like you're in a tent at an outdoor festival. So aye, there's wee bits and bobs what I put to it, but that's definitely something that I do appreciate. That's not that is now business as usual, which before was just a wish.
Yeah, good. I've got a guy who can get you grass, by the way.
Brilliant. See, this is why we do this podcast.
His name's Dan. Just give me a shout. I'll get you some grass.
I fucking love, and by that I mean like the stuff we walk on, like no, like electric wizard rider.
Oh, right, shit. Yeah, absolutely. Um, no more police letters, Gav.
No more police letters. Okay, hit me up.
Okay, Andrew Goodberry says, my question is, what would you like to see the festival sizes be or grow to? Do you want them bigger or will this spoil their vibe?
Okay, do you know what? I used to answer this like so matter of fact, like, oh, this is where we are, Leeds. This is the bands we can attract, and we're not moving, and this is it. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. And then what do we do? We move to Manchester, and I could say the exact same things now, and then in a few years' time, do something completely different. So I'm not going to tie myself to that again because it was obviously foolish when I've done it before. The vibe, I get what it means. You go much bigger than Damnation. It seems impossible right now to think how could you keep that Damnation vibe, but it's because there's always been a case that those bands weren't there to keep that Damnation vibe because the bigger bands, the Architecture, Bring the Horizons, Enter Shikaris, that's not a Damnation band. And then if you go into the Metal Hammer side, where you get your Lamb Gods and Arch Enemies, not particularly a Damnation vibe either. I mean, I'm not that excited about those bands, and I wouldn't like to lose that portion of the fan base that like the headliner and Full of Hell or Nordic Giants, which we've managed to achieve over the years of Damnation. So I like it the size it is. We still need to be successful at this size. We had 1 year success, 1 year not a success in terms of finances. So we need several years in a row where this stage works for us. And then from that, if you had these heavier bands that are pushing through and look like they're going to sell more tickets, like a Knocked Loose, for example, I mean, they look like they're going to be fucking huge. And also, you could keep a Damnation vibe with a Knocked Loose fan. You know what I mean? They still listen to a Pig Destroyer probably. So, you could be, I mean, bigger than 6,000 and then get outdoors. But I'm not excited by the idea, but at the same time, I am not saying that. I'm not saying what I did at Leeds. No, we're here forever, and then in 5 years' time, moving somewhere else.
Yeah, I think for me, really, if I'm honest, I don't think I would want to grow either of the festivals because I think I'm really happy with what they are. I'm like, I think they work really well with the sites we're on, with the number of people. The only reason, if you're me, to ever grow 2000 Trees or Arctangent is the economics of it, and that like the increase in production costs and the increase in artist costs. And I mean, look, when the Download put their tickets on sale for next year, and there's a big price hike, and like you start to get to the point where you're like, do the punters want to pay more money, or would they like us to sell 1,000 more tickets at the old price? Because the economics are, festivals need to grow a bit.
Yeah.
Or you can do what some festivals seem to have done and gone like, no, we're not gonna be all about the lineup anymore. We're going to spend less money on lineup. Like something like, I think it's Secret Garden Party, has shrunk the size of their festival. They've shrunk, no doubt, the budgets around production and certainly artists. And that's another option. I think all options are open in the future. But everyone keeps shouting at me, when are you going to buy Biffy, when are you going to book Biffy Clyro, when are you going to book Deftones? It's like, well, you know, if you're going to book Deftones, you're going to have to sell more tickets, and probably at a higher ticket price, maybe. So it's all about the economics of it, because whilst we love our jobs, we're risking a shitload of money.
Yeah. And also, like, what? Because that's probably a side that the fans don't think about it. Like, let's say you could do Damnation's tickets are 75 or 80 quid, right? Relatively cheap to what you're getting in the industry for that same ticket price. Now, let's say Damnation only done 2,000 tickets, but they're 150 each. Now, financially viable for us, make some money at it, and we can feel like you have that exclusive sold out party in a smaller venue and big. Now, if that was there, ultimately I'm walking away with the same amount of money at the end of it, and you feel like you're having a better event. It's not always just about putting extra people in a room, because the money, like, you get some smaller events, ticket prices are fucking extortionate, especially the black metal ones, because they're making it ultra exclusive, and they're flying in these bands, and they're probably not going to do huge numbers, but they need to make the money for it. And people are like, I'm willing to pay that. And great. It's like that works. Now you go to that event and say, do you want to be Damnation? Do you want to triple your capacity size? Like, but why would we? Why would we? This is absolutely ideal. So it's not as simple as, like, you could go and say, right, okay, well, we could get the ticket prices down to 50 and try to get 10,000 people into a field, and then you're a bit like, but you might walk away from the end of it still with the exact same amount of money, or even less, if you're doing this for financial reasons. And then what have you added to it anyway? Maybe you have spoiled a bit of the vibe, and you have got a few more arseholes through the door, because inevitably that's going to happen when you attract more people. So aye, it's not something at the minute I'm so focused on making Beccarina work. It's not even a conversation for me that are happening anywhere at any level about, oh, how about pushing on to 10,000? It's not even there.
No, and you've always, for me, our sort of, the way we approach it has always been that we go gradually. So if you had 9,000 last year, it's okay to have 10,000 this year, but you don't want to have 12, because 9 to 12 people will be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So you got to go gradually and learn yourself as well about how the site would react to more traffic, or, you know, how the bar queues would be, how the wristband queues, you know, it's all like it's a big moving, like a lot of moving parts. So
and you don't want the sales to go in the other direction, which can happen as well when you don't get the right band bookings, and then a couple of thousand people don't show up, and you're a bit like, fuck, that's I'd sort of set our sights on this number, and then for whatever reason this number's came, and then that's when that leads you to problems as well, because you don't want to lose money.
No, absolutely.
Stephen Edwards, he's saying this is a repeat question. Not sure if it was been missed or was just deemed too boring. It was never too boring, sir. There's just a lot of questions there, right? We're trying our best to get through as many as possible. With the festival lineups, we have so many. Right, okay. With the festival lineups that have so many bands, how do you decide which acts to release during waived announcements? Do you wait until you have the bill fully booked and employ a wave strategy, or do you announce batches as they go to get over the line? What it means that is, like, ultimately, if we have the whole lineup in place, why don't we just tell people immediately when we have it? Why do we do these batches?
I mean, I think it's an interesting question. It's something that festival organisers are always thinking about. So, for instance, there is a well-known metal festival in the UK this year that is gonna announce its bands at its festival this year. So 2024 will happen. they will announce their 2025 bands. Personally, I don't like that strategy. I don't like, from a sales perspective, it feels like the wrong thing to do for my festivals, not for their festival. I don't know about theirs, but it's tricky, I think, because actually what my strategy would be, we do the blind thing that like you do. We sold loads and loads of tickets with no lineup this year because people trust the festivals, they like the festivals. So we'll do that again, even if we had a full lineup ready to go. I think we'd probably hold it back. I don't really think festival lineups should be announced before September, but that's just like a gut feeling on my own part. I would never announce in January or early January. I wouldn't announce in late December. So there's certain parts of the year where you're just not going to do it because of like January people got no money, December people are doing Christmas.
Yeah.
So you're aiming at all these sort of key dates, and it's quite tricky to know what's the right thing to do. But basically, what I'm really saying is, in an ideal world, I'd do a chunk at the end of September, and then some at the end of January, end of February, and maybe the end of March. And yeah, in answer to Stephen's question, that is a wave. I don't want to announce our entire lineup in September because I think what you end up with is nothing to shout about for a whole year.
Which is a real thing. That's the crux of it, because you're not doing it because, oh, I know something you don't know. It's all about marketing power. It's about getting fresh eyes on a lineup. And if you don't have that, because the big gamble is you go all out and give everybody the entire lineup, and then you don't do the sales you're needing. What have you now got up your sleeve? Not a lot.
Yeah. So and even like this year, we got really organised on the Arctangent lineup. Well, I just had a good year of booking. Everything was done. So we released it the earliest we ever had. But I think it's right to say that pretty much the whole thing was done by the end of February. But that now seems a long time ago. And it's like, here's the same lineup poster. Here's the same lineup poster.
Yes.
Festival marketing is quite tough when you've got nothing new to shout about. Yes. So, the sales have been great for ATG, but every so often you want to do something new. And it's like, have you heard of Mogwai, Clowncore, Meshuggah, Explode? It's the same lineup. Here you go again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and to answer that, and it is a great question and something, because it's a great time to ask this question, because I'm shitting it a wee bit now. We've done great ticket sales for Damnation, but there's 2 bands that aren't announced for Damnation. 2. And they've been announced for a few weeks now anyway, so you're into May and you've got 2 bands left. So you're sitting there going, right, okay, what I would do, because what happens is you do great sales at the start of the year for Damnation, and it usually goes for a month or 2, and then this bit it sort of grinds to a halt through festival season, because everyone's mind's elsewhere. Everyone's mind's in Download and Hellfest and then Bloodstock and then Arctangent and 2000 Trees Reads and the European festival circuit. So you're not particularly, even your head's not in space or thinking about what you're doing in November. And then after August, you get a spike again, and ultimately in the good years we sell out. So I'm sitting going, we'll now get this bit where we're going to be sitting through maybe June and July into August, where not a lot happening, and we've got 2 bands up our sleeve. That's not a lot to work with. I mean, because they'll probably need to come out together anyway. Thankfully, we're going to get a Salvation with some other bands. I think there's another 60 bands for that. So you've got a wee bit more marketing power in that with a combination ticket. But again, it's not a lot compared to, we used to have some years in August we were still announcing pretty major bands. So you need it. You need it up your sleeve to say something fresh, to give a reason to get another mail out, to get a reason to put something out on your social media again. And but if you were Hellfest, if you're Glastonbury, and you just know you're going to sell out on the day, for Damnation, I would just give you the entire lineup on that day. If I had it all lined up, all planned, the day that tickets went on sale, I'd give you the full lineup that day. The only reason it doesn't happen is because you need some sort of hook to keep people interested, to remind people what's happening. Even if people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to that," but then go and get carried away with life, and you need it.
Yeah, and we have this thing where, like, Simon and Rob will be saying to me, we want to announce some bands, let's get them out there. People aren't buying a ticket because they haven't seen the full lineup poster. So it's like, you get them out there and then they're like, what's next? I'm like, there is no next. You just fucking wanted them all and they've gone. So on the one hand, we want to drip feed you, and on the other hand, we want a full lineup poster.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't have both, and that's really tricky. And the one thing that I don't like doing, which we've done a few times, is announcing one band. Like, I think we announced Jimmy Eat World on their own, and I think we announced Sugar on their own. And then if you're not a fan of those bands, then you're just like totally turned off by it. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You've only got Sugar.
And then how, the order you announced them. So what we found last year, with much to our surprise, is our first announcement didn't have any headliners. So it was like Amin Ra. I think Nathrak might have been. I was like, I always look at like Electric Wizard, Amin Ra, and Nathrak as like your absolute cornerstones of damnation, like the ones where you're just like you're going to get 90% hits with this. And for whatever reason, people were a wee bit underwhelmed with the idea of Amin Ra, but even though they weren't the headliner, but they were the first band, and see once you've got a negative stain on a year's lineup, it's difficult to remove it, no matter how many bands you book after it. People just get it in their heads that up, that's not for me. This year was the exact opposite. We announced Nails and Bleeding Through, who weren't the headliners either, but people lost their fucking minds to it. And now it's got such positivity that almost everything we released, like, oh, they're stacked it even further. Can't believe this happened. But last year we were adding these amazing bands and people were like, still not enough for me. And it's the same sort of people. And they're just being truthful. They're just going, oh, it's not. But the perception of Damnation this year is going to be a great lineup, because that's all I read everywhere on the internet. It's a wee bit disappointing. It sort of seeps into people's consciousness as well, and it's difficult to get that back. So I was saying to Paul this year, we need to make sure the first announcement is a screamer, because it does have an impact and a knock-on effect on the rest of the announcements after it. And also, every time we do an announcement, Stephen, you weren't asking this question, but we're giving you both barrels. Is you want a doom band and a grind band and a thrash. If you say you want something there that you know, especially if one of them are the big bands like you're saying Meshuggah, you want something there, like you do not want that coming out and people going, I just not interested in that band whatsoever. However, Gallops are playing. I fucking love Gallops. And then you've got that wee tick of positivity out the announcement, just because it's something different. So we definitely, it's very rare you'll see us, unless we're our hands forced, that we're announcing 3 death metal bands and nothing else. You know what I mean?
No, I can echo that by saying we had this problem this year with Arctangent, is that we led with Meshuggah, and then afterwards we with Animals as leaders as well. So the top 2 bands on the poster are both, broadly speaking, in the kind of tech metal space, and that is not what Arctangent is. It's just a part of what Arctangent is. And no one knows that the Mogwai, Electric Wizard, Clowncore conversations are going on, but they're not over the line yet. So at that point, you're like, we've got to get the bands out there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not a perfect spread of genres. But
talking about that, I actually thought a good example of that negativity hitting your first announcement. You guys took it pretty rough this year, because you put something out and it didn't have any of your headliners at all. And maybe some of the bands weren't people like, and there was a lot like, is this that I was expecting more? Like, but not only should you expect more, you're definitely getting more. No one's pretending this is, but it starts that way, and then that's difficult to pull back. You're a bit like, you've just came off last year's Arctangent saying it's the greatest thing in the fucking world. There's no doubt there's going to be a spread of headliners you'll love this year too. But ultimately, if until watch from afar, they're not your most exciting booking, then just wait till the next one comes out. But once you get into it, I might just, because the comments might just skip this year. Like, fucking, give us a chance. Get a chance to fucking get a headliner out with it.
Yeah, they want bands, but this is the problem. And in that situation, you'd be much better off holding it back and waiting until you got a spread. But at the same time, our sales team was saying to me, let's get something out there. It's tricky. You never know what's going to come in and when.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about how the Mogwai booking just drops out of the sky from nowhere. So, yeah.
As a tough one, we fucking held on that Night of Salvation for months, and we had all those smaller bands, because we will not make that mistake again of going out and asking for a ticket price and not having a headliner there with it. So your first impression of Night of Salvation was going to be a negative one. It was overpriced, that, because then we were going to deal with a PR nightmare of untangling that for people's heads, that no, actually you're still getting sick of all and Decapitated and these bands as well. But at the start, all we could offer you really was Hippo Tractor, Mismore and Sugar Horse. And they're like, I'm paying fucking £60 to see Sugar Horse and Hippo Tractor, you know what I mean? But Decapitated doing Negation and Sick of All doing Sketch, that was always coming. We just never had it lined up. We just never tied up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, Stephen, that was a good question.
Fucking hell. That's got Gav going. Okay, next question. Roddy McCann. Sorry, Roddy. Fucking hell, I've lost my.
Roddy McCann.
If
Okay.
anyone's pronunciation can save us.
Big Roddy.
Sorry, Roddy. While the stories of what went wrong are always hilarious, let's get positive. What change that you've made or been forced to make at your festivals has been best received or had the most positive impact? I mean, I start with trees. For me, there's two big changes we made over the years. One is we put in the cave stage, which is when we ditched the Leaf Lounge and we went for the cave, and we went like, let's put a heavy stage in. Let's get that stage headlined by the Bronx and Cancer Bats. That was a big change. But an even bigger one for 2000 Trees was walking around the forest and going, let's do something proper in here. Let's like clear this area. Let's chop some trees down, and let's get our mate Rich to build us a stage. That anyone that comes to 2000 Trees, as I've said before, will tell you that the forest is really magical. Apart from fucking booking agents who never seem to even have been there. They're like, oh yeah, what is this forest stage? Yeah, we'll never make it down there. So booking agents,
it's too far away
go
from
and see
dressing
it.
rooms.
Yeah, and the backstage bar. It's fucking great, and it was a game changer for us, and now has enabled us to do these really special, different sets. And as I've said a million times, it's probably getting boring. It's just magical in there. So that's the biggest change. And ATG is the new site layout, really. As we've talked about in the past, we were forced to do that because of power lines and water and the shit pipe. But that's been a game changer for us, game changer for my stress levels and how well the production runs. So yeah, feel really positive about those changes. What about you, Gav?
Yeah, mine it's a little less magical, but the move to Beck, I mean, I don't think for whether you are for or against that, and there was a minority were against it, and ultimately the ticket sales tell their own story. I mean, we sold thousands extra tickets there, so but that wasn't the reason to sell those extra tickets. Wasn't the reason to do it. It was I don't think people genuinely understand just how damaging Leeds was becoming for Damnation and the level of complaints and people asking for refunds and not getting into venues. There was no way we were getting out of that situation that I could come up with. I could come up with no plan that would keep Damnation as stacked as it was and also keep continuing to use that venue and allow people that bought those tickets to see those bands. And it was getting worse, and it was getting worse, and people were just however much you liked those smaller rooms, it wasn't enough to have yourself locked out of them. And there was definitely we saw people were just saying, "Hey, I'm not coming back to Damnation if I can't see the bands that you're booking," which is a very legitimate complaint and a statement to make. So the move to Beck Arena allowed us to eradicate that you can get into that third arena even when it's busy, and it's been a positive, been an overall positive. And people stop like, oh well, it's no Stylus. I agree as well. I said that earlier. Stylus was a great venue, but the refectory wasn't that special. I mean, it was a fucking canteen. We put a stage in the end of it. I mean, it was like the other two stages were just normal venues. So the fact of what we can do with that, and you go in there and it's just Damnation. I love that. I mean, that maybe means more to me than it does for the fans that show up. But for me, walking about in that Leeds room when arena venue when there was students milling about and people just doing their daily chores and going shopping in the middle of your event that you've curated for that whole year, it just kept taking me out the vibe of being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's not the case at Damnation at all. You go there and you're with like-minded people that have travelled to this fucking industrial estate to do this. And that's a positive. And I think for the fan base as well. As I say, the numbers, the ticket sales speak for themselves. And a lot of people like the fact that they can go there and see these bands with a full production that they wanted to do but weren't able to do previously.
Good.
Talk about pronunciation. Breville? Have we gone with Breville?
Yep. Okay
Breville
with that.
Williams. Band's doing 2 sets. Overindulgence. A slot could have been used for an additional act. These are question marks. I'm just not reading out the question mark to you. Brilliant if you're a fan of said band, but what if you're not? Please discuss. This, I mean, you've done this. It's very that's not that common at Art Tangent, but we're getting a couple of them this year, aren't we? We're getting Bosk and as if are doing 2 this year as well.
Yeah.
So what do you
Yeah.
think? Is it overindulgence, James?
I mean, I don't think you can accuse me of overindulgence when there's 150 odd bands across the lineup. I I don't have a strong feeling on this. In that situation, and so Ultramafar came to me with a very specific, we'll do a fan voted set this night, and then we want to do another set. Boss came to me. Have Bosk even announced what sort of set they're doing on the Wednesday at Arc Tangent? I can't remember, so I don't
You
want
haven't. I think he's going to
to.
come on here and discuss it with us.
Right, let's do it, Begley. And drink a shot, anyone playing the Tom Begley drinking game. But it was his idea, and they've got a cool differentiate. So when bands come to me, then I'm totally open to it. I very rarely go into a year going, yeah, I want that band twice. Like, I've had conversations with the Melvins before about them doing 4 sets and like playing 4 days and doing all their crazy different shit. And obviously it's never come off, and it hopefully will one year. So I'm open to the idea if there's a reason, and it's, you know, not just doing the same thing twice. So I've got a really potentially amazing booking for 2025, which they came to me and they were like, we'll do this album and then we'll do a greatest hits set. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, let's do that. But
yeah, I'm into it. I am all in, and I've got 2 sides of this coin, because from the fan point of view, I've been to, like, let's use Art Tangent example, and I've seen maybe Schwill doing 2 different sets, and I've woke up both days looking forward to seeing both those sets and enjoyed both. And I've done that at other events and enjoyed it. Some people have got a real bee in their bonnet about it, and it does get difficult, and obviously didn't work out for us last year. We done it with Enslaved, Catatonia, Dead Guy, Psy, and some with more success than others. Now, for me, you're never going to convince me that Psy coming and doing the 30th anniversary of Scorn Defeat, which is a legendary black metal album, and the next day doing this sort of proggy, jazzy, experimental black metal isn't a good idea. That is not that's ultimately not even the same band. You're fucking listening to different music playing. So if you say, oh, I seen Psy the night before, I'm just not buying that argument. It's not the same set. It's not even close to the same set. It didn't sound like the same music. So as a fan of that band, I was well chuffed to catch it. Dead Guy was supposed to be doing this Legend album, and the next day doing all this new stuff, and that not how it panned out. They done the Legend album and then a sort of mix of the Legend album with some other stuff, and then however you view the Enslaved and Catatonia sets is really your own taking it. I felt it was good getting the black metal album and then a big hitter, but obviously, and some Enslaved fans thought it was the greatest thing ever. Not enough of them, and there was some people that looked at it and said, I'm not an Enslaved fan, so it wouldn't matter to me what albums they got. Maybe this is similar with Catatonia. I'm not a Catatonia fan, so it doesn't matter what albums you get or greatest hits, because I'm still indifferent to the whole thing. And then as a promoter, you're looking at your poster and there's 4 names in that poster that could have been 8. And that's when we're coming this year and saying, right, we're going the 8 direction. No, it's not a case of let's go and get these bands and see if they'll do 2 sets. Let's just get 8 names in those posters, and hopefully attract that other fan base of the other 4 bands that you didn't use that money to book. So, aye, as a fan, Breville Williams, as a fan, I like it. I like going to festivals. I like the opportunity of seeing something a bit different, seeing something a bit special. And I'm looking forward to doing it this year, for example, with Bosk. But as a promoter, I am not in that camp at the moment until I see otherwise that it's been successful, because it didn't work for Damnation last year.
yeah, I mean, basically, I think what we're both saying there is the sets need to be different.
Yeah, I mean, the sets absolutely need to be different. That's an absolute no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. They need to be wildly different. I mean, like, don't repeat any songs different. But even at that, I think sometimes the fan base, you're just not getting through. I mean, if they're looking at it, if you're having an argument with somebody saying that's Psy, and I've seen them on the Friday, so I don't need to see them on Saturday, I'm saying that's not a very. I don't see that as a valid argument, because it's just 30 years of difference between those sets. But ultimately, if that's what the fan thinks, well, they're the one paying the money, so that's their view that's important.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next question. Chris Wood. Chris
What?
Wood? Has he just got a crazy Facebook name? I'm going to call you Chris Wood. Fuck those. Sorry, Chris. With the success of Kirsty's Metal Hands, would he would be interested to find out who approached who about that happening at ATG. And if you guys have any plans, or at least would consider getting bands to collaborate in a similar way, in the same vein that Roadburn do. So, I mean, this was an idea that was kicking around with their old record label, who we don't talk about anymore.
Okay.
So that's actually the reason I'd never put this question forward. But, you know, their old label, Holy Raw, if anyone doesn't know what happened there, they can go and Google it. But it was actually their idea, and to get these two bands together and to do a collab record. So at times in the press, I get credited with this, but it wasn't my idea. I probably should just steal the idea, but
yeah,
it wasn't my idea. But
who's gonna say otherwise now? No
exactly. So yeah, my idea was great, and I was just like totally positive for it, and I am like totally up for this. So if there's any bands listening that are at ATG, this particularly works at ATG, I think, rather than 2000 Trees. But if anyone's listening and they're like, well, we'll do a collab set with so-and-so, and like if Heilung are listening right now and they want to get together with Rolo Tomasi and do a thing, then fucking great. I will book it. That sounds amazing, right?
And I'll come watch it.
Yeah, and the fact that I've got a Curse These Metal Hands t-shirt and a Curse These Metal Hands vinyl is exciting to me as a music fan, that music was created for Arctangent. And I would love to do it again. Having said that, we have tried to do it. We've talked to some bands over the years, and it never really gets anywhere. Like the amount of time it takes to get in the room with different people, new people, and create something that's supposed to be good or brilliant, hopefully, is tricky. And I suspect, I mean, let's ask Roadburn this question when we have them on, but I suspect that there's a load of arts funding that goes into these projects. So they go, hey, Johannes from Cult of Luna, why don't you do a record with was it Perturbator? Here's a chunk of arts money for you to go and do it. We're paying you to go and write this record and record it. I suspect that's how it happens, rather than me going, here's 500 quid for you to go and do it. Do you know what I mean? Or even here's, you know,
50 grand. Yeah. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, because I guess what? I mean, I totally get it.
Sorry, these things end up niche, don't they? So you're not going to spend your budget on it because you don't know what you're getting at the end, because you've basically got artists falling out or going up their own arse with some weird shit. You know, you don't really know what the outcome will be. So it works better if it's more arty, which works in the Roadburn world, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, as a fan and a promoter, I am not that into it, to be honest. I don't ever. I mean, that example. I mean, I'm a massive Cult of Luna fan. I'm a massive Perturbator fan. I wasn't really interested. Is it called The Final Light? Was it place called The Final Light?
Final Light, yeah. I think the album, yeah.
I think I heard the track sounded fine, and never followed up. I mean, I might even after this podcast go and listen to it because it just reminded me. But and then there's other stuff. I mean, the poor Roadburn's probably the one getting the neck kicks. I can't think of any other examples. But I was there the year there was it Waste of Space Orchestra, which I'm sure. No,
so I was just googling that to try and remember the name. See, I really liked that.
Yeah,
that was Aranzi Pazuzu, right?
Yes.
Did you not like it?
No, I didn't. I didn't go and see it. I didn't. I don't know. I think I went for a burger. It's just one of the ones. It just doesn't grab me. It doesn't. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not even trying to put it down. It's just as a fan, that idea that here's these collabs that you don't really know much about or haven't invested any time to dig in it to find out who's involved with it. It's just, as a fan, I suppose I would duke in and see maybe what something was like, but I'm not all that excited about the idea of it. And I mean, as a promoter, I mean, the risk of, I don't know what that money goes into these projects, but the risk that you could definitely just go and get some established names who sell the tickets. I mean, I'd never do. You want me to book a collab as a promoter? It's Emma Ruffrundo and thou doing Mayor Chambers be full, because I know it's a fucking banger and it's not. Yeah. It's not been recorded for damnation, but that's the kind of thing I'm into. Something that I know is already there on the table as a finished product, and it's amazing. Whereas this sounds a wee bit more frightening. And also, let's be honest, just not in the vein of Damnation, as you said, more of an arty festival than us. We're not trying to be that. So I feel like
Okay.
I wasn't trying to be negative there, but I feel like I
No.
came across.
Well, it's okay. I'm up for it. So if any bands want to get in touch with me, so this is the next question, which is related to this, is one of my favorite questions I've ever had. It's from Steve Bach. I recently found myself revisiting the Roadrunner United album. If you were to book something like that for your festivals, who would you pick as your team captains? And are there any particular artists you'd like to see them work with? And he goes on to say, of course, Arctangent already has Kirsty's Metal Hands. So Gav, I have spent a lot of time on my answer.
You're a fucking geek with this stuff, man.
Yeah, I love this
I'm
shit.
reading that like,
So,
what the fuck even is that question? And you're like,
you've got to put
yes.
together a super group of like, right. So here you go. So for Arctangent, Tom Begley from Bosk is my team captain, and he's the
Fuck's
bassist.
sake, man.
Adam Betts from Three Trap Tigers on drums, Stephanie from Brutus on vocals, and second drummer as well. So we've got two drummers. Fucking yeah. Adam Betts and Stephanie, right? This is great. Colin from Arm and Ra, second vocalist. And we're going to have one guitarist, which is Mike Sullivan from Russian Circles. And I have just created the greatest band in the world. And Tom Begley, who's probably listening now, I think you can make this happen, mate. And I'm going to make it slightly easier for you. I'm going to give you a subs bench. And then on the subs bench is all of Converge, who you're good friends with. So if Mike Sullivan can't do it, then you go to Converge and you take the guitarist. If one of the drummers can't do it, drummer from Converge. It's like I've just created the greatest band of all time.
Yeah, I can see the fucking. I mean, I remember that smile for like for the Saturday night to download. You're like, yeah. You know, I saw this question when it was first posted. I was like, what? And then you put it on one of the plans, and we never got to it, but we were going to get to it. And then when I put a plan across the day, you're like, can we add this one too? And I'm like, why? Why are you so keen? You're like, because I've got a super group created. I'm ready to go. Fuck, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that's such a musician's question, and maybe you come for that. I don't have that eye or ear for who would work with who or who even think would work with who. So I'm going to sadly defer to James on this question and allow that.
You've got to hear my trees. You've got to hear my trees supergroup as well. Then
do that then. Do that.
Okay. Team captain Dan P. Carter from Radio 1 on bass. He's also been in 1,000 bands. Matt from the Bronx on vocals, Liam from Black Peaks and Vower on drums, and guitar, Debbie from Harriet. Awesome. I've genuinely spent fucking ages on those bands, and I'm really excited by them, and I want someone to go and make them happen.
If not, just go in the comments and tell James how fantastic the bands he just created are, would you?
That would be nice.
That's I will thought you do love that, don't you? You love that, just geeking out with a wee bit of that, be it album lists or fucking super bands. Did you never made up names for them? No, you're not very good at names, are you?
Well, I'm on and off. It varies.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that was a good one for you, and you finally got that answered, Steve Buck. He seemed very excited by that one there. So it's the summer now. It's all happening. July, August, lots of festivals. Let's go with a big summer banger for on the record. What have you got for us, James?
Well, I took this. I saw your choice, and I was like, okay, I know what my choice is going to be. I'm going to pick the only better band from that period than your choice. So my choice is the Wild Hearts. The song is Everlane. I go on about the Wild Hearts a lot on here. A lot of you will be sitting there thinking, I don't know who the fuck they are. I really would encourage you to check them out. They've got all the melody, all the hooks, all the heaviness, all the prog. I mean, literally nobody can write better melodies than Ginger Wildheart ever. Move over, Paul McCartney.
Big words.
And they've got a lot of songs to choose from, but this one kind of shows all the different sides of the Wild Hearts. I'm not saying it's their best ever song, but it's got all the different bits, including a stupid proggy outro middle eight type thing. It's fucking great.
Well, I'm looking forward to finally hearing this. I mean, I watched the Wild Hearts with you at the download pilot, and you seemed well chuffed with life. However, they had some sound problems that day, and I think they stormed off stage in a bit of huff, didn't they? And
So they did, yeah.
and we had Mr. Wild Heart himself. What's the experimental sort of noise group I had at Damnation that you went and saw? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Mutation.
yeah, mutation, yeah, yeah.
Mutation. So that's about as deep as my Wild Hearts knowledge goes. So I will be listening. I'll be considering I've listened to you going about Wild Hearts for so fucking long in this podcast. I will be listening, and it better be a banger, and it better be better than Therapy's Screamager, right? Which is not going to be. Let's be fair. And again, into the comments, let James know he's wrong. And I mean that's right from your back catalogue as well, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
full disclosure, I came up with the idea, let's do a big summer banger for the main stage festivals. And I just went to a dark place with everything. Everything just kept coming back to some miserable fucking post metal. And I went to a friend's WhatsApp group and said, I need what's something that I would absolutely love that I would be singing along to at a festival. And somebody came up with, my friend Neil came up with Therapy, Scream Each Other. I was like, bingo, that's exactly the answer I was looking for. Because, aye, fuck man, what a band Therapy are. And did you go, is that tour happening? Did you see it when they were doing Trouble Coming Full?
Um, do you know what? I saw the last anniversary, which I think was 10 years ago. I think this one's is it coming up or has it already happened? I can't remember. I haven't seen them recently, but I always have a lovely time with Therapy. Fucking
Yeah.
great band.
Yeah. So yes, I hope those if anyone's listening to On the Record through the summer at a festival and you went through the misery that we put you through for the last 3 hours of it, there's a couple of feel good bangers for a nice sunny day with a warm can of Carling. So James, pleasure as always. Everyone else, thanks for tuning in. We haven't been begging you for likes and scraps and YouTube views in the last few episodes, so if you could do that for us, it's always appreciated. But thanks for listening one way or the other. Next couple of months are going to be busy with us, but we will get you a podcast every Thursday. We promise, Scouts Honour. And James, I will see you again next week.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, everyone.